not true, but I'll take it, I guess. I'll take it. All right, guys, have you ever been so devoted to something that absolutely nothing was going to stop you? That nothing would stop you? The best example I have of this happened about 4.5 years ago. I was in Lexington, Kentucky with the rest of the guys that are in Fiji. They're here, whatever. The rest of the guys that are in Fiji. So it's November of like 2013, I think, and we're in Lexington, Kentucky, because that's where Fiji's headquarters is. We're there to initiate the new guys. It's like a fun road trip. We chartered some buses. We got them initiated. Super fun night. We're back at the hotel, and we're trying to figure out what should we do tonight. So the guys that are 21 go to the bars. The guys that are 18 to 21 go to just random stuff. So we're left with about 4 guys. Okay, so it's me, a guy in my pledge class, a guy that just got initiated, and the past president. So the 4 of us are sitting in the hotel room like, what should we do? And the past president is like, hey, the local chapter here at Kentucky has a snowy white owl you guys should steal. So the relevance is Fiji's animal is a snowy white owl. It's not alive, by the way, it's mounted. It sits like that because it's not alive. But they're like, hey, he's like, you guys should go steal it. So we're like, this is by far the best idea we have so far tonight. So we go. The 3 of us, the guy that had the idea actually didn't come with us, which should have been a red flag. But the 3 of us go. On the way there, we're like, okay, what's the game plan going to be? So the game plan was, Mizzou was playing Kentucky that day in football, so there were already some Mizzou fans in town. So we're like, okay, we're going to get a house tour, because that's normal. We'll be Fiji's from Mizzou. Foolproof plan. We get to the house. Nobody's home. The doors are locked, the lights are off, no one's home. So should we turn back? No, we're devoted to getting this owl. So we do the only other option. We start checking the windows. So we start trying to open the windows. They're locked all the way around the house. We get to the last window, and I'm like, it's going to be locked, but it's unlocked. I open the window. It's on the front porch. I start to stick my head in, and then I see out of the corner of my eye a group of about 20 guys walking down the sidewalk. So I have 2 options. I can either get out and then act like we've just been standing there and go back to plan A, or we can run. We go back to plan A. We'll act like I wasn't sticking into their house just then. So they start coming up the sidewalk, and then they cross the street. They went to a different house. They weren't Fiji's. But we were super scared. So I open the window back up, and then I take a step into the house, and I'm looking around trying to find this owl, because it's a fraternity house. It's pretty big. And then I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know about this. This is weird. I'm breaking and entering, basically. And as I'm coming back out of the window, I see the owl right here in a glass case on the wall. So I'm like, guys, it's right here. And I don't know why I'm whispering at this time, because like no one's around us. But they're like, get it. So I go back in, and I'm like, this is going to be locked. It's in a glass case with a lock and stuff. But it's unlocked. I open it. I take the owl. We run back to the hotel. On the way back, we're like, this thing's pretty sweet. And we started to think about it, and the guy that told us to go get it said, hey, most Fiji chapters don't have these because they're extremely rare. So we're like, okay, I wonder why. We start looking it up. You can't own one of these that was mounted after 1972. So if you find one, it's at least 45 years old. And if it's in good shape, it's worth some good money. So we start looking it up. Well, how much money? We figure out these things are worth anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. So we just stole a car, basically. And we're like, this is awesome. And the guys are coming back from the bars and stuff, and they're trying to touch it, and I'm like, no one's touching this thing. If someone breaks it, it's on me because I stole it, so no one gets to touch it. We're on the way back the next day. We're on the bus. We're a little past St. Louis, so this is a 9-hour drive, by the way. 9 hours, so we're almost back to Springfield, and I get a phone call. It's a number I don't have. I'm like, no way. I answer it. The first thing out of this guy's mouth was, bring the owl back. I was like, the only answer is, what are you talking about? And then he's like, I know you go to Missouri State. I know you have the owl. Give it back. So I'm like, all right, man, you got it. So I hang up. We get back to Springfield. He calls me again. He says, hey, that owl, if it's not back to our house by 8 a.m. on Tuesday, so this is a Sunday night, so I have like a day and a half. If it's not back to our house by Tuesday at 8 a.m., we're going to press charges. And just so you know, this owl we have insured for $11,000. So now I've committed grand theft, which takes it into a felony as opposed to a misdemeanor. So we're talking about prison and not jail now. So I'm like, all right, dude, I'll get it back to you. And so I spend the rest of my Sunday night building this crate. So I'm gonna overnight ship it. Like, it's a brilliant plan. Shipping is like $10. So I spend hours building this crate to fit it in, because it's pretty big. It's an owl on top of a log, so it's like this big. I build this crate, it's awesome. I weigh it and then figure out that it's actually gonna cost like $900 to ship it overnight. So that's not an option. The only other option is me and one of the guys that helped me steal it, get in a car and drive Monday afternoon back to Lexington, 9 hours. So we drive back to Lexington. We get there, it's 2 a.m., and we're walking up to the house and we're like, we have no idea what we're walking into. We're either gonna walk into police that are gonna arrest us, or we're gonna get jumped by these guys because they're ticked. So those are the only two options. We get to the door, I'm like, I have the keys to the car, and I'm definitely faster than the guy I'm with, so I'm like, I'll be okay. But we knock on the door, they open it, and two guys are standing there, and we're like white, like ghosts. And we're like trying to get to them, and they start laughing. They're like, dude, this was an awesome prank. And I'm like, what? I thought they were ticked. Turns out everybody loved it except the president, the guy that called me. So it ended up being all right. He sat us down and like yelled at us for a while, and we're like, okay, whatever. And then we give it to him and leave. But they were serious about pressing charges. Like, the glass case I took it out of was gone because it was at the police station getting fingerprinted. It's like they were for real going to press charges on us. But I gave it back to him. I drove back to Springfield. So now it's Tuesday morning at like 10 or 11 o'clock. I take a shower and give a speech in Comm 115 that I didn't prep for because the last 3 days I was trying not to go to prison. So I just walk in and give a speech off the fly. And what's the moral of the story? So it's two things. One, we were devoted to getting this out. Nothing was stopping us. And two, if I had a chance, I'd probably do it again because it's a good story. So I was devoted to getting this owl, though. And people in the Bible are also devoted, not to stealing, obviously, but to a relationship with God. So we're going to check out a story, and there's three characters. It's Jesus, and then two sisters that live together, and they're hosting Jesus, and they kind of respond differently. So let's check it out. So it's found in Luke. So the story says, now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village. And a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Okay, so we see Jesus and we see Mary and Martha, and they respond very differently. Mary sits at Jesus' feet and listens to him. Mary's devoted to Jesus. Martha is distracted with much serving and just doing other things. She's over here in like the kitchen, and Jesus, the God of the universe, is in the next room. And she's just distracted with other things that are going on. Distraction is detrimental. Distraction is detrimental. So when we're talking about distraction and devotion, we're talking about how we invest our time in our resources. So investment, you guys are probably familiar with this, but an investment is devoting time, energy, or resources to a particular thing with the expectation of a worthwhile result. So basically, you're like, I'm going to put something in, like money, time, effort, and I hope that the result is worth it. So the most common ones, you're probably thinking of money. So we invest money into the stock market or into bonds, into a 401k, and hopefully, by the time we retire, there's more money in there than we put in there at the beginning. This would be a good investment. Another way we invest is that we invest time. Everybody in here is investing time right now by being here at StuMo night. It's a great choice. You're also investing time by being at Missouri State. So you're spending 4, 5, maybe 6 years here to get an education so that you can go on and hopefully it furthers your career. Another way we can invest is invest energy Physically, so like we go to the rec and we work out, we play basketball to stay in good shape. All of these are different forms of investments. And investing in God is the exact same. Is it worth my time and my energy to spend time with God? Is the investment going to produce a worthwhile result? So a couple of ways that this happens is like, again, is it worth it to go to StuMo night? You guys all said yes. On the back end, hopefully you'll still say yes. Maybe it's, is it worth it to spend time with God, to read His Word? Maybe it's, is it worth to spend 9 weeks in Kaleo in Orlando? Are these things worth it? Are they worth it? And subconsciously, often we're like Martha and we say no. We don't even think about it, but how we use our time, we're saying no, these things, spending time with God is not a good investment. We all do this. Distraction is detrimental. Matthew 6:21 says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what this means is where your treasure is, where we're investing our time and energy and resources, that's where our heart is. So what am I giving my time to? What am I giving all of my energy to? That's what I truly care about. So I can say, yeah, I'm devoted to God, but if He never gets any of my time or any of my affection or any of my devotion, I'm not really devoted to Him, because this verse is clear that what you care about, that's where you give your resources, your treasure to. And time is the most valuable thing we have. But we don't always choose God. So what are we distracted by? What are we most distracted by? This guy. Our cell phones. Cell phones. So, some stats about the cell phone. These are going to make your eyebrows go up if you haven't heard these before. We spend somewhere between 4 and 5 hours a day on our cell phone. 4 to 5 hours a day. Add that to 2 hours a day we spend watching Netflix, sports on TV, playing video games, or whatever. So we're spending anywhere from 6 to 7 hours on average looking at a screen. And if you take out sleep, that's more than half of our day. It's about half of our day. It's a long time. We check our phones about 150 times a day. And through that, we touch it somewhere between 2,500 and 5,500 times. These are some big numbers. Add all that up. That's going to lead somewhere between 9 and 20 years of your life you're spent looking at your cell phone. 9 to 20 years of your life. What if we could just get 2 or 3 of those back? Not all of them, but just 2 or 3 of them. So we're talking about like 20, 25 minutes a day. What if we could get that back and invest it into something that's worth more of our time than just scrolling? What if? We actually can, because everybody in this room is about 20 years old, so we're still on the front end of this. We can choose to spend our time better than just scrolling for 4 to 5 hours a day. It's a long time. And what's the result of this screen time? So the result is a couple things. One is it's increasing stress and anxiety. It's increasing stress and anxiety. And here's what's crazy. So my phone's sitting right here. If it goes off and I don't immediately go look at it, what happens is our brains release this chemical called cortisol. And cortisol is what produces, is basically how our brain responds to stress. And the reason is because if I don't look at it, I'm like, okay, what's going on? What am I missing? What's that Facebook notification? Who commented on my Instagram? Did she text me? Probably not. But what's going on and I'm missing out on it, right? It's FOMO. It's the fear of missing out on what's going on with my phone. So it causes stress and anxiety, and I'm not even touching it. That's crazy.